Hi everyone, I'm glad to see you here. Please take a seat, make yourself comfortable and look around because we are starting. Alright, I'm Olga Kai, Head of Immersive Projects at Inloco Gallery, and we are inside our last virtual world. It's called Vertical Horizon and it's dedicated to the art of Karim Jabari, a Tunisian calligraphy artist. And today is not our usual monthly MetaTalks event. Today is something special because every November our offline team hosts a conference in Dubai on urban art practices. And we here host a parallel program on hybrid or, as some people call it, digital practices. And three of the panel talks with the incredible worldwide speakers who have many years of experience in their field. And today we're discussing a topic from monument to experience, how technology transforms public art. With Adele Keane, COO and Creative Director of Imvizar, Pauline Foessel, Curator, Founder and CEO of 100 Collectors, and Roy Azzi, CEO, Founder and Creative Director at Hybrid XPERIENCE. But my guests will introduce themselves better than I do, so let's start with Adele. Uh, Please tell us about your company and your amazing project. And at the same time, I'll share the slides right now. And just a quick reminder about the protocol. We have only 15 minutes for every introduction.
So my name is Adele Keane and I'm the co-founder of Imvizar. We create location-based storytelling experiences all over the world using augmented reality. So to be honest, I think the best way to kick things off is to actually show you a short video of one of our experiences. And then I'm going to go into a few quick case studies that highlight some of our work in the public art space. So Olga, if you'd be able to go to the next slide and play the video, please. So my company is based in Dublin, Ireland, but we have a global footprint. We work primarily in the culture, heritage and tourism space, but our work really spans working with clients in employee engagement, sports stadiums with fan engagement, and also with artists. So really we're trying to use augmented reality and spatial storytelling to connect people with the spaces that they are through art and stories. So the different experiences that I'm going to speak about today are all really core to the essence of what spatial storytelling is and how it really allows us to use technology to add an extra layer to public art. And what I've really noticed over the last number of years is the artists who are willing to explore augmented reality as a new medium, as part of the way that they can express their art. And I really think this is changing the way that audiences can then interpret art even once it's back offline. So it's really trying to not replace art with technology, but finding a new way to express meaning and express messaging through different ways. Okay, great. So I'll play this short video and I'll give you a better sense of what we're talking about. Great. So on the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about this project. So this project was called Hexahedron, and it was created with an artist, Macer, in collaboration with my team. And you can see the picture on the left here. This was the inspiration for what became the augmented reality experience. And the picture on the right is the location where it took place. So the picture on the right is called Charlemont Square in Dublin, and it's a new development where this artist gallery is. And he really wanted to bring culture and art to these newly defined spaces in Dublin, to bring culture into new parts of the city. And what's really special about working with Macer is that he originally started out as a street artist, and now he exhibits in prestigious galleries. But he really believes that art belongs to the people. It should be something that could be consumed in the public, and it should be accessible. So what was really important for us was to take the beautiful artwork that he created and painted, understand the depth of the different layers and the colors and their meaning, and how this could relate to the space. And the reason the project is called Hexahedron is because a hexahedron is a six-sided solid shape, and the square in which it takes place is representative of that. So if we go on to the next slide, I'll show you a little bit behind the scenes of how it all comes about. So when we're creating a project, the key to it really is understanding the space. The story is really the key beats in how people are going to see and move. So to do this can be quite tricky, and there's lots of things you have to consider. But ultimately, we knew that we wanted this beautiful old stone art to be the trigger point. So really, once again, blending that physical monument with then technical augmented reality, spatial storytelling to bring the art to life. So as people walk through this physical archway holding up their phone, it then triggers the artwork to start playing and appearing in front of them. So you'll see on the right, I have a outline of a phone. And when we're creating augmented reality experiences with the phone, especially when it's something so life-size and in a huge area, we need to be really, really mindful of the user's field of view and what they can see through the phone. So we can make sure that no matter where they point their phone, they're seeing something that can connect them to the art. And then the small picture on the bottom is a heat map. So we mapped out where people were most likely going to spend their time. So most likely around the arch where they started, and they'd less likely be going to the further edges. But we wanted that no matter where they walked in the space, they would see amazing art appear. So then if we go to the next slide, I'll just show a short clip of the final outcome. So the video at the start showed the audience enjoying it. This really shows you the first-hand point of view. So you can see there when you walk through the arch, all of a sudden these beautiful origami birds start to fly around you and actually gaze your direction towards the sky where more birds are there, and the art starts to evolve. And what's always really amazing with experiences like this is that the user is really able to appreciate art in a new way. So as they walk around the space, there's the mix of entertainment, excitement, but we want them to have that feeling that the artist had when he was creating the piece. And what was very special about this experience was that afterwards, when people finished the augmented reality experience, they could walk back into his gallery and see the piece. So on the next slide then, I will show you how the same artwork can actually be used to create a different story, all dictated by the importance of place. So with the same artist using a different building and a different exhibition, we created a different experience called Around the Block. And then this was really in relation to, as I mentioned earlier, this artist initially was a street artist, now exhibits in prestigious galleries. So he really has been around the block literally, but also as you can see, this building in front of you, which is the Royal Hibernian Academy. It's a lovely museum and art gallery in Ireland, is a physical block. So we wanted to actually play with the space of the block and tell the story of his artwork through this new space. So I'll just show a short example on the next slide of what that looks like. So we really, really made sure we used the physical space and made all of the art come to life with amazing sound design, color, light, which already played into people understanding and experiencing his amazing artwork. Okay, so I'll go on to the next slide now and talk about another case study. So we have worked with numerous artists, and this project we launched really recently. It was actually in collaboration with Google. They recently redeveloped their offices in Dublin. The area is called Bowland Mills, and it's an amazing redevelopment. And a really important part of the Bowland Mills project at the Google headquarters is to have public space that's available for people in the area to enjoy a beautiful public space in a park, sit, relax, and take in the beautiful sights. And a key part of this was working with the renowned Irish artist Sean Atmas. This mural that you see in front of you is actually the largest mural that has ever been painted in Ireland. I believe it took 300 litres of paint to complete, and it's, I think, 724 metres squared. So it's absolutely enormous. And the piece has a lot of meaning behind it, which isn't directly visible to the eye when you first see it. One of the most important things about this piece was that it was created in collaboration with neurodiverse communities to make sure it was sensory friendly and very much accessible to all types of people in the public. And the artist as well really believes that art should be accessible to anyone. Once again, art isn't restricted to people who have access to prestigious galleries. Art can be experienced on the street, and it should be. So what Sean really wanted to do with this piece was tell the layers behind the story of how this piece came about. And it actually plays homage to the history and heritage of what used to be here. There used to be an old mill, and it was very much part of the Industrial Revolution. So there was a layer of him using different strokes of bars in the background that represented the industrial part of the piece, then layered with the beautiful flowers and leaves, which represents the now mix with nature and how the space is transforming and evolving over time, but to suit public needs. So on the next slide, I'll just show you a few screenshots of what the experience looks like. So when people arrive at the public space beside Google, they scan a QR code on a plaque, hold up their phone to the mural, and then the mural starts to transform, and you can actually see all of the pipes and poles from the industrial part of the piece come out into the world right in front of you. So it was an amazing way to allow people to experience his art in a different way. And most importantly as well, is that when you put your phone away, you can look back at the piece and then spend more time with it in a different way. So it really, once again, isn't to replace the artwork, but to add this next level of interaction and immersion and understanding for people to connect with the artist's message. So the last experience that I will talk about is a very, very special one. My company have actually created our own no-code AR storytelling tool called Loreo. And really our mission has been from day one, how can we make spatial storytelling accessible to all, both for creators to make their own experiences and also for people in the world to view them. So we decided a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a big event happening in Ireland. The NFL were playing a game with the Steelers and the Vikings, and a well-known Irish artist called Cone One just happened to paint this amazing mural right outside our office space. So we got the idea, why don't we create our own experience? And we didn't use any 3D artists, we didn't use any developers to write code. It was very much showing how using public art, people can actually express themselves without needing to have the technical knowledge. So once again, what's really important to us is that the technology sits in the background and the art and the storytelling can take center stage. So you can see on the left there a picture of the mural, and then you can see on the right a short video showing the interface of our no-code storytelling tool. So it's really a simple drag and drop interface that allows people to choose anywhere in the world via a variety of different tools that we have where they want to place their story. So we're really focusing on location-based stories, so telling stories in places, and then they can upload their own different 3D assets, animations, and place them seamlessly along a timeline and publish it to our app in a really, really convenient way. So on the next slide, I'll just show you the short outcome of what that user journey looks like. So on the user end of things then, as opposed to the creator, people download the Loreo app. If they are at the location, the experience will appear right in front of them. They simply hold up their phone to the artwork, and then they can see beautiful augmented reality artwork come to life right before their eyes. So this was a really fun project that we did quite quickly versus the ones I showed earlier on. Definitely had a lot more depth and time behind them. But really what's so important to me in the realm of public art is how technology is able to allow that next layer of accessibility, both for artists to express themselves in new ways and new mediums without having to learn complex new skills like coding, but then also for audiences that it opens up a whole new world for audiences who might not have appreciated art before, or who might not have understood or thought it was for them, that they can feel more included and it really is just helping people to connect with places in a more powerful way. So I'll leave it at that for my intro. Looking forward to hearing the other presenters' intros, and we'll be diving into some great topics in our panel later.
Oh, that was quickly. Thank you. Thank you, Adele. It was actually incredibly interesting. And, you know, I always dream about time when we can see all of these amazing artworks through AR glasses, but, you know, not with our phones or tablets. But I think we will discuss it a little bit later. And let's move on to our next guest, Roy Azzi, CEO, founder, and creative director at Hybrid Experience. I have only a showcase from you, right? So do you prefer me to play it now or after your introduction?
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm just having some technical difficulties hearing. Yes, Olga, please go ahead. You can go ahead and play the video. My name is Roy, and I'm CEO of Hybrid Experience. What we do in Hybrid is that we create creative installation using arts and tech. We're mostly tech-oriented experiences, from projection mapping to 3D illusions to experiences, interactive setups, holograms, you name it. I would take you through the different kind of setups that we do in general. We're based in Dubai, but we're also operational somehow around the world, mostly in the GCC, a little bit of Europe. We just got back from Montreal for a very interesting project that also I will talk about in just a bit. Let's play the video and start the journey here. Our hybrid experience, we're also known as HX. Okay, if you don't mind putting the volume a little bit down. Perfect. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Oh, these are a few of our collaborators. I'm gonna start with the shows that we create.
Where art meets AI. Musicians channel data through AI brainwaves headsets.
This is a show that we did through Global AI Summit and in Monte Carlo, where we translated emotions in real time through AI brainwaves headsets, moving to Netflix launches and closing ceremonies, different interactive cultural experiences or gaming festivals. We design the experience from creative to design to tech to content to blending in everything together in a seamless kind of experience. Different sports activities that we tweak arts into it, different forms of brands that we bring to life through different engagements and setups, a lot of AI integrations in what we do in the lab, different form of global summits where our challenge is how can we engage people more. This is our Dubai piece. It's called AIM, as AI Dream Machine. Different forms of fun, 360 mapping, anamorphic setups, immersive tunnels, interactive spaces. We work a little bit with La Perle sometimes in the same setup, sometimes fashion brands like Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin.
I am an AI-generated hologram created by Hybrid Experience.
My name is Sarah. I am delighted to welcome you to Dubai Design District. It is crucial to...
These are our hologram heroes that we created different kind of personas for different forms of setups. These are a few of our interactive AI-driven installations. We tap into different formats of immersive experiences, sometimes corporate like the one on the left, gaming the one on the right, and more art-based like the one in the middle where we imagined Louvre in 2050. This is one of our iconic installations called the Loophole installation, and it's a form of an open immersive experience that reacts to actions. These are some form of AI-driven activations where we develop in the lab and then express out there in events. You write everything, AI turns it to life. photo booth, interactive AI photo booth, where you become any form of character that you want in front of the screen in real time. Some forms of designs of holograms and telecom company that we try to bring them to our zone of artistic engagement. We work closely with multinational brands such as, for example, Pepsi and
Oh, okay, yeah, it's download, still downloading.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Some heavy content. It's all right. So this is an example of Pepsi can that we did in an F&B convention where we allowed people to customize their can in real-time AI on a hologram, and then you sketch your name or you design it with different AI textures. Then you QR code, you scan it, you save it to your phone. There's still a few interesting installations that we would love to show you whenever it jumps back to life.
Yeah.
That's a form of a can, how can. We've done this with Nike, with Red Bull can, with, again, AR holographic texture. That's our piece in the middle in the Museum of the Future in Dubai. It's a real-time holographic tree. Different forms of experiences, again, interactive setups. These are our IPs of Carnival and Magic Circus shows, followed by opening ceremonies such as you would see right next King's Slam in Riyadh. And we had a massive hologram in the middle, and then this is the boxing championship of Fury and Usyk, where we also had massive 4 holograms and projection mapping on the floor. This is just a quick show reel to get you into the zone of our world and into our kind of space. And definitely behind each installation, there's so much work to be done on the pre-production and the production side, but we find passion in every single one of them.
Thank you, Roy. Actually, the scale of your projects is mind-blowing. And I have a question: how many projects do you release per year? Because looks like, hundreds.
Yes, it's look. To be honest, it all started organically, and we started doing these experiments, carrying a small projector and going to nature and projecting on trees, or picking up holograms, going to the desert and experimenting and different things. But somehow the world we live in, Dubai especially, and what's happening around this region is taught us to be very, very fast. And sometimes I feel that the world here spins a little bit faster than everywhere else, which maybe might not mean that it might not be sustainable on the long run. But for now, we're trying to cope with the pace that we have. So also it's seasons. So in summer, for example, the season is very low. This is where we take in 3-4 months of creating new installations, R&Ding in HX Lab, and coming up with beautiful things that we love to do. But then like now, November and December, this is where the peak season is, and you get calls literally like every day with last minute briefs that they need installations on the next day, and we have to run very fast. I don't have an accurate number to answer your question, but yeah, we do we do close to maybe 50 installations per year.
Oh my God, unbelievable. And how many people do you have in your team?
So in hybrid experience, as permanent team members, we're about 43 team members right now. And the departments, they go from creative and design to creative coding department, to in the lab where we have all the HX studio, where we come up with all the content, the VFX, the R&D into 3D animation, and then plugging back into the creative coding real-time engines like Unreal Engine, Notch, and Touch Designer. And then we also have a department of production, So we put everything together to make a proper experience.
Sounds incredible. Thank you, Roy. And
Thank you.
let's
It's
move
my
on.
pleasure.
Let's move on
Sure.
to our next guest, Pauline Foessel, curator, founder, and CEO of 100 Collectors Club. I looked into your slide and they look like an amazing start for our discussion. Please, Pauline, the stage is yours.
Hi, thank you, Olga. Thanks for inviting me. Very interesting, Roy, Adele. Actually, Roy, I did watch the King Slam in Saudi, and I was actually wondering, like, how is this happening and what is this technology? So nice to know it was you behind it. Hi everyone. So I have a little bit of a different presentation, but I think we can jump into it. I'm going to introduce myself first, and why somehow I've been invited today, as I have somehow kind of a hybrid profile. So just to tell you that I'm foremost a curator. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, cool. So I'm a curator for the past 15 years, and I've been working in the public and urban art sphere for all these years. I started my career actually directing a gallery in Shanghai, which was the gallerist was one of the first French gallerists to be exhibiting urban artists in Paris. So she was the one spotting JR, she was the one bringing John Wan, Shepard Fairey, all these great names to France. And I started at 21 directing a gallery in Shanghai. So I've been seeing, from the very start, like great names from the urban art scene coming to China, working on residencies and exhibiting there. And this is where, in Shanghai, I've met the artist Vils, with a Portuguese artist. And he's very well known for carving faces and portraits on monumental walls. He has been doing walls everywhere in the world. And we've met during a residency I had in the gallery in Shanghai, and I decided to go and work for him. This was in 2013. So I directed the studio for a few years, and together we co-founded a gallery called Underdogs in Lisbon. And it's actually not just a gallery, it's a public art program with the city of Lisbon and a program of editions. And basically the idea behind the project was really how can we tackle different audiences, how the gallery would be expressing for an audience of collectors, while the public art program, I think we are all here to hear about that, to a way broader audience that would not necessarily be stepping into a gallery space or a museum space. And the edition was really to bring new collectors on board. And it has been now 13 years that we have Underdogs, and I am still until today the head curator of the group founded by Vils. So I direct the Curator department, and there is in this group, so still the gallery, of course, is studio. Since then, we've launched a festival of urban culture, so music, performance, visual art, of course, digital art, and so on and so forth. And this is like every year for the past almost 10 years. Next year will be the 10 years. Then after we opened a digital art platform / gallery. So like this was kind of the, how can we continue having the DNA, which is accessibility, that we have been exploring with public art and everything we've been doing in the other projects. And we kind of realized that, digital art and the experience linked to digital art was very similar somehow to the experience that you would have on, artists working on painting walls in the street. The accessibility, the questioning, the engagement of people. So it felt very natural. And the last project that we've launched with us this year is called Clay, and it's actually tiles, like the Portuguese tiles. So we are also challenging artists to create tiles for being on, outside walls and not being so ephemeral than painting walls. And at the same time as this, as you've heard, I'm also the founder of 100 Collectors. And you will understand at the end of the presentation that everything can fall right into place. So 100 Collectors, it's a club for contemporary and digital art collectors that I've founded in Lisbon, and now we have collectors a little bit everywhere in the world, and now I'm based in Dubai. So the point is to also push 100 Collector here. And what we are, doing is we're bringing collectors from, the NFT space, but also contemporary art collectors to visit galleries, studios, access to art fairs, and really supporting the scene. And this is how, I kind of came into the digital art ecosystem. Before that, I founded a startup called Artpool. This was a kind of LinkedIn for professional art curators, and they were access to create art edition via NFTs. And that's how I came into the Web3 world, and then therefore into digital art afterward. So basically my path is, you can go to the next slide. These are more, images, but that So that's the work of Vils, is really literally jackhammering walls to reveal faces. And this has been done like in, I don't know how many cities in the world, more than 100. We have in Dubai, of course, but he has been expanding his work for the past 20 years. Can go to next. These are projects we've done with underdogs through the years. We can go to the next one. Yeah, so this is a chord by a Portuguese artist called A.K. Corleone. Actually, the next show of the gallery Underdogs, it's going to be him. He's coming back for his 4th or 5th show now. Then the next one is a duo of Spanish artists called Pichavo, and they mix graffiti and classical art. Next one. Shepard Fairey, maybe under the name Obey, is the one that did the portrait of Obama that everyone knows. So he came several times to Lisbon. Actually, this is the second version of his wall because he had to repaint it. The red was fading away, so he decided to go for blue. And I was thinking, because this presentation is really literally blending everything I've been thinking of for, I would say, almost my entire career. And I've always been fascinated by, digital art or technology and the impact on technology on the art world. And it was somehow for me, like I was always into that specific world and more traditional world, right? Like galleries. I've also worked for a collector. I've was raising funds for an art foundation in Hong Kong for 3 years. It was always, very traditional. And I realized that the art world was not really using technology as much as, we could. And I started thinking with everything I've been doing, so curating with the biggest name in the urban art scene, like how and why technology would be interesting. Also because of my experience with Artpool and now 100 Collectors and meeting many collectors really collecting digital art. What are the actual, opportunities that technology brings to public art? And I can identify, maybe there is way more, but I think we don't have that much time. Those kind of 4 pillars. And for me, it can revolutionize the way we look at the space. It's a revolution for the artists themselves, for the audience, and this is my last but not least, because that's probably my most important one, is the funding. So we can go to the next one. So the space first. Actually, yeah, that's what I just said. Sorry, go ahead. So the space first. I believe, well, you were hearing it with Roy and Adele, right? Like, obviously, I don't think I need to pass too much time on this, but when you've been working with public art, when you've been working with urban artists on transforming cities, like, you know, the administrative burden that it is to actually make these things happen. And you need many authorization. Like sometimes, you know, we had sculptures that are, for example, still not in the street because there is like so much authorization, and there's been 4 years we're waiting. You know that with technology, you can somehow remove these permission struggles. But it's also like, how do you interact in a new way with the art? Because all of a sudden, you don't have to be in that place to be enjoying the piece, right? We could have a beautiful sculpture in spatial right now just behind our back, and we could be having and enjoying it. So all of a sudden, you do not think space is the exact same way, and we shouldn't think about it the same way. But it gives us a completely new door, and not just us, it gives museums, it gives art, like festivals and so on, so many new doors for having new new spaces and new publics. So you can go to the next one. It's also, and I can only think about them as well, because, you know, as a curator, that's our main practice, is how can we accompany the artists and how can we help them find new ways of expression. And I'm bringing, you know, just 3 examples. But the very first one was one we did with Lauren Moffat, who is a brilliant Australian artist based in Spain. And we invited her, this was with 100 collectors. We invited her a few years, like 2 years ago, to Lisbon to showcase one of her work. I think you can go to the next slide that people can have a look. And basically she has that, it's an app, and she has that augmented reality that what you were showing, Adele. And it was very interesting because obviously we could place it wherever we wanted. So you had like a thing that you would put on the floor and a QR code and the app, and you could have her giant, close to the bridge in Lisbon. And so actually it does relate very much with the theme with monuments. And people were having fun, and it was a completely new expression, and these works obviously does not exist in those landscape. The next one, so AR as a new tool, then projection mapping, of course, with this project. It was not a project I've done, but it's a project from Casa Batlló, which is Gaudi, one of Gaudi's monuments in Barcelona. And there is a series of artists commissioned to create video mapping on the facade. I think before Sophia, it was Refik and Adele. And this brings thousands of people to re-enjoy and first discover the work of Sophia, but also to really re-enjoy and a new kind of, new architecture, an old architecture in a new way. And then the last one that I wanted to share is the project we have done with the digital platform. So this is a Portuguese artist called Foessel, and this was part of the public art program of Underdogs. And for the non-fungible conference in Lisbon, we created a show where we link public artists and digital media. And Foessel had created an entire animation of this wall. So all of a sudden, you had from is eventually something ephemeral that's going to stay maybe a decade in Lisbon, but eventually we're going to end up by disappearing. But by giving these new tools to the artist, he created an expanded somehow reality and something that would become eternal. We hope so. The next thing after the tools to the artist I wanted to pick your brain on is obviously a new form of engagement. This is particularly interesting for me because we have to face it, it is not that simple to bring people to museums. It is not that simple to bring people to, even less simple to bring people to galleries. And we have somehow created, and when I'm saying we, the art world, have created a very gatekeeping space where somehow you have to feel that you need to belong to be discovered. And I believe public art and digital art are kind of breaking those barriers. They are bringing art in a way that anyone can interact with it. And I think digital art is pushing it by bringing people in even more. I think public art, you have this observation, so it does touch you, but you have to look. Digital art is kind of even really taking your hand and bringing you in, because it is participatory. It does really call on your senses. If some of you are in Dubai, absolutely go to the TeamLab Museum in Abu Dhabi that opened a few months ago, and you will understand what I'm talking about. So it's immersive, and then the rest I've been talking about it, but it's also true from an audience perspective. The fact that you have no permit, no borders. Well, the MoMA is creating an entire digital public program, public digital art program that you can go from anywhere in the world and access. All of a sudden, you are in link with the MoMA programming. And the last thing you have to think about is, and this is something that actually I've sorry, it was just the last one, the social media part, because this is something that we have the impression that social media are playing a strange role somehow, because but for public art they have been extremely interesting, because they have been expanding the discourse of the artist. And if you look at it, most urban artists, for example, are extremely followed on social media because they have works in the streets and they have those monumental works that people love to look at online. And what I love, this is a show I've curated recently about how the digital is linked to public art. It's a show I've created in Portugal, in a museum in Portugal. The fact that social media are somehow the streets of yesterday, where we could discuss things, we can enter in contact and really discuss the matters. And I think there is an interesting parallel with having a digital agora on social media and being in the streets and discussing those matters in front of a public art piece, for example. So, and the next one, and I will finish on this. For me, this is actually, I think every single endeavor I've been working on in the art is towards this. I strongly believe that we need more fundings in the arts, and I am looking for a solution. And I think those solutions are in new models and are in the digital space. I believe that technology can definitely revolutionize the way public art is being funded. And as you know, today, or you are very lucky to have private patrons paying for commission pieces, paying for walls, paying for sculpture that they would give to the city, or not even give, but have as an ephemeral moment. But most of the time, it's cities commissioning or it's grants being received. And being in the NFT space for past 4 or 5 years now, I do believe that eventually, and collectors, right, because that's what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis today, I do believe that collectors would be brilliant to decentralize the funding of public art. And I believe this is kind of our role to create the dash between the idea of the artist, the audience that could benefit from a piece. And I'm not just telling about the piece that you would interact with just in the street. I think artists are doing art for make you think. And if we put those pieces in the right places, you will be able to criticize in a positive way and give people the opportunity to think of the world that is around them. I believe that's the role of the artist, and we need more individuals helping funding public art. And I do believe that we can find a brilliant way to do so. And so basically, I want to, end up on that beautiful note, but to basically, you can go to the next one, but to recap, these are for me the four very important things where technology has a very strong impact into public art. And I think we are at the premise of it. We haven't seen anything yet, really, but think about it as something that is borderless, that gives artists new tools to reinvent their practice or go into new fields and connecting with new audiences and of course expanding the accessibility even further than putting an artwork in a city, in the street of a city, and of course like those new funding methods. I think we have food for thought in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. I think all of us have a lot of thoughts after your amazing presentation.
Thank you.
One of your slides actually reminded me of an interesting question. I mean, the slide where the public art no longer depends on permission. Let's imagine that we already have, a new, accessible and popular everyday device, AR glasses, augmented reality glasses. And people wear them everywhere, so they can see public spaces with this additional digital layer all the time. What do you think? Will this new hybrid thing be some kind of regulated, theoretically? Will it be regulated as a physical public space or as a digital space, like, for example, social media today? Just let's speculate.
Should I go ahead? Or it's a question for everyone? Yeah.
It's a question for you, firstly.
That's a very good question. I think like if we want to believe that urban art is done with permission, but the truth is there is a lot of art in the street in the world that is absolutely not asking any permission. So I think like eventually we'll find the same mindset and rebellion on with within the digital sphere, right? I think like you will always find people that will be able to go around the permission and do their digital tag, or I don't know how we're going to call that, digital graffiti or whatever they're going to come up with, and it won't be a graffiti. But eventually, yes, you will have spheres that will be regulated somehow with permission, because you will have organization framing it, right? Like if you do have for example, Inloco, you could have an entire program where in this area of the metaverse, or you were talking about with glasses, you will be able to intervene on this part of town or in this neighborhood, probably, right?
Right. And what do you think about that, Adele? Because since UR is your main focus.
It's a really, really interesting topic, and I think it comes to what Pauline was saying about, we hope for the best, that people have good intentions. But even if we go back to before we were in the realm of virtual art with urban art and graffiti and tags, there's always been a difference between, self-expression versus self-promotion. In other words, are we seeing urban art that is an expressive art form, which often in the urban world is actually there to disrupt, but also to kind of bring people together to belong? It's kind of going against the grain. Versus then we also see advertisements, which is kind of the other side of it. So I think as we're seeing now much more virtual art, it's creating those platforms and safe spaces where people can go to access the art which they would like to connect with. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, we have our own platform, L'Oreal, which is open to creators all over the world to create content, but there is a slight vetting process. So a bit like difference between, YouTube or Netflix or, Spotify and SoundCloud, there are always certain platforms that will allow anybody to put up anything. And then there's other platforms that will have a protocol where they set a standard. So I think we'll just be seeing much more platforms exist for virtual art, so people know that they're kind of accessing art that has the correct intention behind it.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, let's come back to the present day. And Roy, my next question to you. The title of our panel mentions a shift from monument to experience. And I think it might be a bit controversial point of view. Do you feel this shift happening, or do traditional and technology-driven public art still exist in parallel worlds? What do you think, Roy?
So honestly, definitely, there is a shift that we are seeing, but I don't think it's a replacement. There is a difference of both being alive and parallel, and each one has its own kind of mission. This is a natural way of evolution. Technology is here to stay, and no one or nothing could actually stop or dictate where technology is taking us. But it's how we use those great tools and those good tools into a good sustainable way of living. Living together, living in public, being in public areas. How does this affect us as human beings in our everyday life and in the art world? Now the digital space has allowed people to step into the canvas in today's world. So has allowed everyone to actually become closer to art in a way, because it's kind of accessible. Now everyone wants to be part of this canvas, and as Pauline mentioned, for example, TeamLab, or all the immersive experiences and the digital work, now the people are participants rather than being observers. And that, I think, is the blurred line between both, and bringing them together is kind of something that's going to stay.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It looks more like a parallel, but I'd like to hear what Pauline thinks about this.
Yeah, to be very, very sincere, I think like it depends a little bit of the geography. I think here in Dubai there is that, as you were saying, Roy, there is like kind of a lot of experience, and the technology is being used a lot. I don't think that's true everywhere. You know, I've been talking about Lisbon a lot, but in Lisbon it hasn't been as much, and I feel it's more in parallel. It's still somehow pretty early there, with the digital art platform. We're trying to do more, you know, video work and installation in the public space with like digital art, but it's still very much in parallel, and I think like it's still going to be for a while. It depends on the culture of the place, you know. Even if it's more and more, and even if there is more and more spaces. I was talking with a curator for a podcast. It's called Ulrich Strauss, who's actually the next curator of Art Dubai Digital. And he's being also the art director of a museum that's going to open in Hamburg, the UBS Digital Art Museum. So there is more and more things in Europe, but I think, and it's happening, but it's still maybe not as much as here, for example.
Yes, it's kind of interesting because you mentioned Dubai as a special place where it's happening, because our last season, I mean, Inloco Gallery was with Filippo Minelli. It's an Italian artist, and his work was dedicated to how our city is changing constantly. Nothing monumental if we speak about this kind of international cities like Dubai. It's a huge difference between Europe and this region. So, all right. And yeah, speaking of this shift to the hybrid format, Adele, where do you see the limits of digital in public art, if such limits exist at all? When do you say to your commissioners, for example, hey, it's not the best idea, it's just not gonna work?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I might just add one last note on the previous question,
Oh,
because
yeah, sure.
there was actually two artists that came to mind who are playing with that exact duality of monuments and technology. So Jeff Koons and Cause are both modern artists known for their giant sculptures, and both of them have actually played with augmented reality. And what I think is interesting is that monuments hold that sense of permanence. So, you know, over time, they allow us to have this collective memory at a point in time. And, you know, as we know, monuments throughout history have been key to preserving the past. So there is this fear of, if everything's digital, that we don't have that memory to hold on to. But I think what those artists are doing, like Cause and Jeff Koons, is that they're really using AR to play with space and scale. So bringing their artwork to new places where it couldn't reach, or bringing it to literally new sizes. So it's kind of knowing when to use the medium. And often it's due to like accessibility or creating things that are surreal. But just it's interesting that there is kind of a lot of artists today who build physical sculptures that I think are exploring now a lot of things to do with Gaussian splats and AR, and are having fun with it.
Yeah,
Then,
Gaussian splats
yeah.
is my favorite new technology, actually. Very
Yeah,
promising.
and it's so accessible as well.
Yeah.
It's quite easy for most people to, you know, simply download an app on their phone and start, you know, scanning things around them and having fun.
So, and
So
about the limitations, about the limits.
yes, yeah, limitations. So I think especially when we're dealing with public spaces, there is the huge question around public safety and comfort. So even, you know, we have some experiences that we've created in the public space where you can see firsthand that people aren't as confident to hold up their phone and engage with art versus when they're in a protected space. So you need to really think about if you're creating a virtual exhibition in a public space, is there an event? Is there a group of people who can do this together? What are the kind of safety thresholds that you put in place to allow people to explore in that way? So then, I mean, tied into all of that then is really thinking about, if people are so immersed in a virtual world, what if some danger happens in the real world? How can we make sure they're not beside a main road? Or, you know, that there aren't kind of certain people around that they wouldn't feel comfortable. So I think there's a lot of thinking about the right public space and the right moment. And I think creating events is quite a nice way, because then you can have the collective shared experience with a group of people that can really help with that.
Yeah, it reminds me of, it's not art, but still the case, Pokemon Go and all this, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was
all these things.
a real thing. I think we all remember back when it was at its hype. You know, there was sometimes people in bizarre places, and it might not have been the safest places to lead people. So I do think it is the creator's responsibility to choose locations in the public sphere that are safe, so that they're aware if people are going, that they're aware of the limitations, especially even with if it's daytime, nighttime, that information is provided to people so they can, you know, experience technology in the way it's supposed to be, and not at a, you know, any sort of unwanted things that can happen in the public realm around them.
And not to die.
Yeah, to put it literally, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Roy? Where are the limits of digital in public art? What do you think?
That's honestly a tricky question. Now we can't really, you know, predict so much. But in my way of thinking, I always like to go back to history so I can predict the evolution a little bit. And if you look at the graph of how art evolved, or how technology also is kind of the dictator of where this is shifting to. We can think from, I don't know, mediums where the first ways of communication were the yellow pages, and then the internet came to life, what happened, and then phones were introduced and digital displays were introduced. And then next there was the meta world, and then after that AI is here. Now AI is a super amplifier, multiplier that's taking everything to the next level. I think everything is going to keep on evolving in the same but much faster way. But I feel sometimes in our space, I get that digital fatigue. And I think everyone
Oh,
does as well. And this is where you get this digital fatigue and you just gotta escape back to maybe nothingness, or sometimes just literally nature, parks. And this is where you can kind of balance it out with a little bit of both words and your daily work, because it's going to be around us everywhere. Now, definitely Dubai and here is much more, but also New York and also Toronto and also Tokyo and Japan, like all the big cities are getting, and so and they're moving more and more into that digital kind of world, and we have to know how to balance it. I see you're fascinated by those AR glasses, actually. So I tried yesterday the new Meta glasses. I still think
Ray-Ban,
it's
right?
very long. Or yes, exactly. They don't fit me. I would have loved to try them out a bit, but I try not to wear a digital watch so I don't get a feed every single second in my life, because we live in this techie kind of space. But I think there's still a very long way to go. And definitely very soon, we're literally not going to know what is AI, what is real, what is fake, what is real. We're not going to know which influencer is real, which artist is real, and which artist is AI based. And this is where it's going to be tricky. But is there anything we can do to stop or to pause or to slow it down? I don't think so. I think we got to know how to kind of cope with this new world.
Yeah, it's very confusing at this point, what is real and what is not.
100%.
Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and I see Linda wrote important of balance. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what we need every day. Even if I still excited about this new shiny things like Ray-Ban with displays. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That the 1.0, you can imagine this times 10 of evolution, like literally where would it take us, or what would it allow us to see and to recognize?
Yeah, yeah, right. And when did you say about limits to your commissioners, Pauline?
Um, I think like one of the limits I'm seeing, urban artists played a little bit on the same standard as advertising, right? Like
Right.
advertising using the public space for passing messages, which are to sell you things, and the artists with painting walls have been using as well like square meters to pass a message, which is not necessarily to make you buy something, but to make you think. And I think the way it's being done is very clear today. You can, I mean, except actually in New York, they have been painting advertising on walls, murals. They have been doing it, but mostly in the world, you still understand that the billboards is an advertising, and like the painting on walls is still very belonging to artists. I'm a bit less hopeful with the mix of the physical and digital realities. I think it will be harder for people because the digital is very much inclined to, well, content production right now, but very much linked to advertising. And the more you're going to see, if you were talking about the glasses and we're far away from having it, but imagining that we are having it, how will you be able, with the same type of media coming in front of your eyes, how will you understand, okay, that's an art piece or that's an advertising? And probably the question of space, wherever you are in the street, will have to be very clear that, okay, this is art content, this is brand content. If not, it's going to be, I mean, I have no idea. I've never really thought about it, but I think that I see this as a limit somehow.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that actually leads perfectly to our next question because, okay, the next question is my favorite. because whenever you bring it up in a conversation about art, a big fight starts every time. So my question is, where do you draw the line between public art and entertainment? Does the difference still exist today? Okay, let's start with Pauline.
First, is there an artist behind the creation or not? I think that would be the first standard. It's tough because entertainment, I think art can be entertaining. There is nothing wrong for being entertaining. You know, I think like from the moment you have an artist behind or people who've been creating, even if it's a machine artist. I just curated the show of Boto with a machine artist, it's an AI artist, okay? But it was created by a group of people who are, you know, Mario Klingerman is an artist, and then there are a tech team and people creating it. So you definitely have people behind with the concept and an idea. And I think from the moment you have a concept, an idea, an artist willing to share a message, then this is an art piece, and great if it's entertaining. If it's just entertaining, if it's just like you are not trying to pass any message and it's just to be looking beautiful and making you feel something, it's great. But yeah, it shouldn't be an art piece for me, at least.
So it's about meaningless, right?
No, because I do believe entertainment can have meaning. I'm just, yeah.
Well, I mentioned it's a tough topic. Okay.
Try to reply the best as I could. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think, Adele?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. We could probably spend the whole rest of the time discussing it and debating it. I mean, I think like similar to what Pauline said, first and foremost is really, was it created by an artist? What is the intent? And then if we, you know, maybe take two extremes of, we, you know, mentioned earlier, Pokemon Go phenomenon, that was clearly, you know, a public game for entertainment purposes. So if we can kind of set that aside as, okay, that's not art, that's entertainment. But then we look at today, a lot of technology is blurring those lines because we fall into the domain of experiential. So having that interactivity where people can become a part of the art. And I think kind of to like Pauline's point, it's really of what is it asking of someone? So it should really, you know, I would say that for all art, especially, you know, public art when mixed with technology, it should allow people to question things. So they can be entertained, they can have fun and enjoy, but there should be a sense of trying to understand a message that's behind it and the why. There was actually a really interesting and very relevant exhibition that I was at 2 weeks ago. It was in Paris. The English artist Jonathan Yeo did an exhibition on the Snap spectacles. So it was an augmented reality exhibition with his physical artworks. And I was really impressed by the kind of play between novelty and entertainment with sort of deep meaning and reflection. So you put on the spectacles and looked at his different portraits. And as you looked at them, sometimes you'd hold up your hand and you'd see it would look like the paint would come off the canvas towards your hand. Other times it could look like you could actually mix the paint yourself. But the deeper you got into the exhibition, it became much more personal. And actually, at the start of the exhibition, you take a quick selfie, like you always do on Snapchat. And actually then through the glasses, you start to see yourself in the artwork. And the first time it happened, it was kind of funny, like I laughed. But then as it went on, it really you start to think of questions of, you know, embodying other people and, you know, maybe what it's like to have a portrait that was painted of you. So it really blended this sort of nice mix of entertainment and fun, but asking these kind of deep questions that it didn't really give you the answers to. So yeah, I think art always has to pose questions and you know, allows people to reflect and, you know, have that kind of, you know, open dialogue afterwards of different meanings and interpretations, but behind it, and not it being a linear, you know, kind of one-way direct entertainment.
Yeah, that's an interesting point of view, and I just remembered that interesting idea from one of the podcasts. It says the art should be either hammer or a mirror if it's true art.
Mm.
So yeah, we need to think about it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And what do you think, Roy, about this question? Because create a lot of very interesting, very entertainment installations. So where is this line for you?
Right. That's actually I've been thinking of this question for a while, maybe even before, and right now it accelerated. First, we need to understand again and redefine what is art, right? And then redefine what is entertainment. I think there's a lot of blending together, or they overlap somehow, somewhere. But if you want to be very rational, you're going to think of what is the intent of something that has been made. If it has been made in order and the intent is done in order to live forever, to turn ideas into feelings or a question and a specific message. So the core job is the meaning of something, then this could be defined as art. Now, the entertainment usually is crafted or designed for kind of immediate pleasure, you know, and
Yeah, right.
it has a different core. The core job of it is to create attention, right? And but it's also very interesting because it makes people smile. Now, these are things in common. Maybe art could make people smile, and entertainment makes people smile. Entertainment can make them relaxed, and art can do that too. So they do overlap in so many places, and great work and great artists can do both, right? But also it's what's the intent of it, what's the intent of something that's been installed internally. We love, sometimes we take our time and we say we need to create our own, what do we want to say, like AIM, our own art installation that was in Art Dubai and right now is in Dubai Design Week. We created an interesting large massive Coleidoscope X megaphone, and its sole message was to allow people to spread in their intimate dream with the machine and have an intimate conversation with the machine. You say anything you want and you put your head inside of it while people are watching you but they don't hear you. You get that communication. You say anything and the AI turns everything you say to life in real time. Right now we developed this, and in Design Week it's a collective dreaming. Right now we are projecting the dream outside of the machine. So that's a form of entertainment, but its intent was art in the beginning, to tell a specific message. And yeah, again, I go back to the intent of it.
Yeah, it's actually, I remember this work. It was your showcase, part of your showcase. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
very interesting. This kaleidoscope,
If,
yes.
if yes, exactly. And Pauline,
Yeah,
if
it
you're
looks
around
great.
and you're walking around Dubai Design Week, it'd be cool to check it out.
Yeah.
I've checked last year in Art Dubai. Well, on the way to the digital sector, I remember.
Yes, exactly. It was exactly in the middle. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's go back to the present days, to more practical questions about market. How would you describe the current market for hybrid public art where you work? Still experimental, or maybe already mature, or somewhere in between? What do you think, Adele?
Definitely still experimental, but seeing it becoming a lot more popular. So all of the examples that I showed earlier actually were all Irish artists that we've worked with who are first and foremost amazing painters. They aren't artists who work in the XR realm, but they're very open to exploring new ways to express themselves and connect with their audiences. So I think when leaders in the art world start to embrace technologies, whether it's AR, VR, but especially AR in public spaces and creating that connection of location-based art, it will allow a lot more younger artists to follow suit. We're actually seeing a lot at the moment in universities, all sorts of people from different domains who are now exploring augmented reality thanks to the ease of accessibility with no-code tools. So I think the next generation of artists will be quite agnostic in their primary medium and be more open to exploring different types of art. So I really think in the next couple of years, we'll see a lot of amazing artists experimenting in different ways, whether that's, the kind of simple way, doing things with your phones, very accessible. But now that we're seeing the headsets, even like the Meta Ray-Bans, I got to try them the other day as well and was so impressed with how lightweight they are. And it's, they're still a novelty, and they're, the price point doesn't make them accessible. So once the technology becomes accessible, as we all know, the technology has to be seamless and invisible for people to enjoy the art straight away. They're definitely, we all go through that rough stage of when the technology isn't mature enough, or the kind of the XR tools to create them aren't mature enough, then the art can be very experimental, which is kind of become, it's like even when we look at AI, all of the, first art that people were generating a couple of years ago on things like Midjourney and DALL-E now have a certain style that's nearly like a retro AI that really speaks to that moment a couple of years ago. So it's always trying to find the balance of when the tools are mature enough for then the artists to be able to kind of express themselves without any limitations.
Yeah, it's actually so sad because, all these years and it's still experimenting, still not mature, not ready.
Yeah,
Same with
we're getting
virtual
there.
reality. Yeah,
We're nearly there. But with
we
now,
know that.
because the devices and things like that are at a much more accessible price point, it's becoming, more mainstream, more available. And I,
Yeah.
think we'll start to see mass adoption genuinely in the kind of coming couple of years.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's like, hey, let's wait for another 5 years. Every time it's 5 years.
Okay, everything takes time, right? Olga, like even if you remember the internet, how did it start? Like, don't you
Yeah.
remember when we first started and Google Map was still, it was Google Earth, or what was it? It was still the very early when we used to need to connect to the internet. We used to need to shut the phone and then to link it and then wait for it to connect and then wait for 30 minutes. If someone calls your house as
Yeah.
the landline, the internet stops, and we survived this, and communication, MSN and all that. We survived this for 5 and 6 years until look at where the internet is today. So things, I think, evolved and just get faster and quicker and better, and the train is always running at high speed in technology side.
Yeah, we need to be more optimistic, I think. But just sometimes I feel like I'm tired of this, one more 5 years more, 5 years more.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, my next question. Who typically commissions your work? Like cities, maybe cultural institutions, or brands, or festivals, or, anybody else? This is question for you, Roy. I think we'll start with you.
Honestly, it's very, very wide range of different forms, right? So yes, cities, could be governments, could be brands, could be developers, could be festivals, could also be artists who are transitioning into the digital world and into the tech environment, because especially in the rise of tech and digital art, there is amazing artists who approached us, and they were trying to understand the medium technology, the technology that we use, or the mediums that we use to help them bring that in. For example, if they were like, they used to do paintings, how are they going to translate that into the digital world? and we're always finding different ways. So yeah, it goes from so many various amounts. So art curators, definitely developers, fashion brands, retail, governments, museums, and so on.
All right. Okay, and what do you think, Adele?
Yeah, similar enough. I mean, a lot of the projects we've done, there's been a wide range, but definitely cities. And it's usually tied in with, possibly seasonal events, so where there's going to be a public gathering. Also from innovation funds, so different funding available specifically for XR art projects. And then also sometimes from the technology providers themselves. So one of the examples I showed earlier, it's at the Google offices, that was funded by Google as part of a public renovation project. So, I think because especially when it is tied into public space, city is nearly always involved or consulted. And I'm happy to see that at least in Ireland, a lot of the local authorities are open to funding innovative art projects because they kind of see how well it's received by the public.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I totally forgot about corporations, about developers of, for example, AR glasses, hardware, like spectacles, right? Because they can be commissioners too. They have a lot of funds, grant programs. And Pauline, so who typically commissions your work in your case?
It's very similar.
Similar.
But there is a lot that, yeah, it's very similar. It's developers, real estate developers
Yeah.
or cities. But the truth is there is a lot of things that are our will. We are going after it. So it's not necessarily a commission. We have ideas and one thing that we know is that the artist loves public art. This is the grail. Like everyone, any artist would want to have something in the public space, and so this is very often, at the core of okay, let's do a public piece and let's do other things around. And I think like you were mentioning Filippo Minelli, who was a great friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I think the project you did with him was so good and so consistent, because what you've done as a gallery is you offered the artist very interesting public piece on an island where people could come and visit, but it was very on point on, of course, like an entire critic on those new cities. But you also built for him a metaverse where anyone could be enjoying his work, so enjoy the public piece, but also his work as large. And then, of course, you had the show, right? And you actually did the book after. So you kind of went over like the whole span of what you can work on with an artist, and at the center you had the public art, which I think, and this was your ambition, your intention. No one commissioned you to do so, right? So it's very similar in my work. Like most of the time is a great artist and we want to be doing the best and we just go for it, right? And eventually then you sell artworks, you sell books, you sell NFTs, and then you live from it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we almost run out of time, and I have my last question to you. If budgets and regulations were no issue, what unrealized dream project would you bring into public space? And let's start with Roy.
Interesting question. I wish we get this in a brief, like just go flow, don't care about the budget. Look, if it was a personal project that we were to do with a mission, would really try to collect data of what causes negative behavior and translate that into positive attitude that makes literally everyone happy, smile, and create that good vibe energy through different kind of mediums. I think that would be our sole goal.
Wow, I like this idea actually. It would be, I think, amazing project.
It would. We are working on something though. It's still very, very, very experimental. But the second we achieve something, we'll share that with you.
Okay, looking forward to seeing your new project. And
Of course.
okay,
Thank you.
let's move on to Adele. What would be your project of dream?
Yeah, if there was really no boundaries or limitations, it would be amazing to select an artist from, we'll say, a lot of the main cities in the world and choose a location. So perhaps we find an empty open space in all of the cities of the same size or a blank wall, and allow the artist to put on an AR headset and co-create an art piece together so that they're in different parts of the world collaborating together, but then by the end you'll have the kind of identical piece in different locations. So nearly be like a form of a performance art, but then with a finished piece at the end. So very experimental, but it'll be interesting to see how it will go, and just really play on the amazing things we can create in the kind of shared AR space today.
Oh yeah, I would love to see it actually.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it'll be art in itself no matter what happens.
Yeah, and I'm personally, augmented reality and virtual reality are my favorite technology all the time. So yeah, that would be great. And Pauline, what is your project of dream?
My project of dream, but it's not going to reply exactly to the question, but it's to unplug fundings for public art. I do believe that you can, I need to find the key of the lock, and that's my dream, and I'm intended to realize my dream. If not, I would be happy to curate with artists the Burj Khalifa. Doing like an amazing show with artists from everywhere in the world on the Burj. Why not?
Yeah, why not? It should be great. And we have a question from Linda. I see. Roy, have you connected with Mo Gaudat on your dream project?
I have not, but that's a very interesting point. I will definitely do that. Thank you, Linda, for the recommendation. I'm just drafting this right now, putting it and checking out Mo Gaudat. I've seen him a lot, and then definitely shoot him a message.
He was talking 2 weeks ago in the creative entrepreneurial thing in Alcos. Very interesting.
Oh, really? I missed that. Although our studio is in Alcos, but I missed that. I remember his like even character is very has that humor, intelligence, and big mind. I would definitely reach out to him. Thank you, Linda.
I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you all so much for this inspiring discussion. It's been a real pleasure hearing your perspectives today, and huge thanks to our speakers and to everyone who joined us in the virtual space. By the way, we have 3 bubbles here on the left. These are links to our speakers' websites, so you can discover them now or later. The November is on fire for our team and for the VR folks from what I see. There's so many cool events, and next week Elsa and I will participate in the Immersive X Festival and guide a tour of this world, Vertical Horizon, but not here. It will take place in VR chat, so join us there if you're interested. And if not, Our next panel discussion will be right here, same time, same day in 2 weeks. We're going to discuss immersive technology for cultural heritage. And, you know, there is a chance that someone from UNESCO will be there. At least I believe and I hope.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Olga, thank you so much. And this immersive cultural heritage, that's super cool. We're actually opening an immersive cultural experience. It's our first kind of experience that we are opening it to ourselves. And it's about the empires of the Mediterranean. It starts with the Phoenicians and it goes to everywhere else. We're opening that in Byblos. It's one of the most ancient cities, living cities in the world. It's in Lebanon. And the Phoenicians are the civilization that invented the alphabets and sailed all the Mediterranean. So we'll definitely also share that on LinkedIn. It's set to open in May 2026.
Wow, sounds amazing. Thank you, Roy. Looking
Thank you,
forward to
Olga, and
seeing.
thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank
Sounds
you,
good.
Thank
Pauline.
Thank you so
you.
much for
Thank
your
you, everyone.
talent,
This was
Bye-bye. Nice to
fantastic.
meet
Adele
you
and
all.
Pauline.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure.
All right, bye. See you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.